Hello guys, welcome to Koa Academy. Guys, in this video, we'll be talking about the difference between permanent working capital, working capital and temporary working capital. Now first look at this diagram, okay? And then we will of course talk about these in detail in another slide, and we'll talk about why these two types of capital are needed and what's the reason behind them. So as you can see on the x-axis there is time and on the y-axis there is amount. So the amount of current assets, these are the working capital, the permanent current assets, there is a line. It's a straight line. Of course it's a bit it has a slope, but it's a straight line because the permanent current assets which are required to finance the day-to-day activities of the business. For example, you have to keep a certain amount of inventory, you have to keep certain amount of cash to purchase the stock. So that asset, those current assets are relatively stable in nature. Of course, they, as you can see, the line is going up because over the period of time, when the size of the business grows, then you need more current assets. Okay, so that permanent working capital increases. It increases, but it does not fluctuate because it increases only with the size of the business. Whereas temporary working capital, as you can see, the line of the temporary current assets, they are fluctuating. They're going up and they're going down, they're going up, they're going down. But remember that the line is never below the permanent current assets line, because of course the line which denotes permanent current assets, this is the minimum working capital which you have to have, without which the business cannot function. So temporary current assets or temporary working capital varies with seasonal nature of the business. As we can see in the next slide, these are a bit definitions. Permanent working capital is also called fixed working capital. So it's a minimum level of current assets which is continuously required by a firm to carry on its business operations, and this is referred to as permanent or fixed working capital. So considering the nature of the business, you will, let's say that, okay, I need this amount of inventory in my stores to meet the demands of the customers. I need this amount of cash and bank balance to meet the cash flow requirements, and of course I will keep my debtors at this level. So this is the basically minimum level of current assets, and it does not fluctuate. Whereas fluctuating or variable working capital, fluctuating working capital is also called variable working capital, is the extra working capital needed to support the changing production and sales activities of the firm. So this is known as fluctuating or variable working capital. For example, if the business is seasonal in nature, for example, if you're operating a restaurant and during the summer season the tourists, they appear in large numbers, so you have to keep more inventories of the food items. For example, you will have to have more cash at your disposal so that you can purchase the things. So this is how this working capital is seasonal in nature. If the business is seasonal in nature, then you will have to employ extra working capital. Another example could be, when during the Christmas, different companies and retail outlets, they offer sales promotions. So during that period, sales of the various businesses, they skyrocket. So in that particular case, they also have to increase the amount of working capital they are maintaining to meet the demands, to meet the excess demand. So this is the primary difference between permanent and fluctuating working capital. I hope you understood why, the reasons behind why these two types of capital need to be maintained by a business, and why is it necessary to keep a minimum level of working capital, and why is it necessary to keep extra working capital to meet the seasonal needs. Thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe to the channel.